Good. My mic is on. I hope everybody else's is, so people don't see your lips move and hear nothing. Welcome to the October 2024 meeting of the City of York Zoning Hearing Board. Let me introduce first who we are from your left. Have to make sure everybody is where they're supposed to be. Blade Klein, who is our alternate and will participate in the meeting but not vote unless someone, probably me, has a sudden attack and collapses, then he gets to vote. But we're not hoping for that.
No.
And next, Corey Carden. Sorry they misspelled your name on your nameplate. Maybe I'll try my art skills and make a replacement. or you could. I bet you're more artistic than I am. Adam Nugent, Nick Holman, Sina Jenkins is our vice chair, and I'm Franklin Williams, chair of the Zoning Hearing Board. To my left is Andy Harold, our solicitor, and Karen Brown, our stenographer. Speaking of whom, she does a fabulous job, I don't know how they do it, of taking down every word, because this is a quasi-legal proceeding. Andy, what does quasi mean? Sort of? It means sort of.
Works for me.
Legal proceeding, so we keep a verbatim record of the proceeding in case of an appeal to Common Pleas Court. Please, if someone else is speaking and you have something you want to say, we will recognize you, but you cannot speak at the same time someone else is. If anyone has a cell phone, please turn it either to off or vibrate. We all love the William Tell Overture, but we'd rather not have it in the middle of someone's trying to make a point. Most of you, what I call your adventure in zoning began when you requested from our zoning officer, Monty McMillian, who of course is at that city table over there, when you requested a determination about a property from him. In other words, you asked him to interpret what the requirements or restrictions in the zoning ordinance were. If he advised that you needed something, basically a special exception or one or more variances, you then, only 3 or 4 evenings ago, you met here in this room with the York City Planning Commission. They heard you present your case and voted to recommend to us, the Zoning Hearing Board, either that we approve or deny whatever it is that Monty said you needed. We take their advice seriously. We value their advice and the advice of the opinion of the zoning officer, but we make up our own minds as to, and it isn't always easy, and we try to pay full and fair attention to everyone. I personally enjoy approving things more than opposing them, but there are times when what seems to an applicant like a really great idea doesn't seem so to the neighborhood, perhaps. And if they make a point that parking is a really serious issue, we have to weigh sometimes pros and cons, and it isn't always easy, but we do the best we can. And I think we work pretty hard much of the time. Am I forgetting anything? Probably.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, just the swearing in.
Yep, that's about it. So, will anyone who may want to testify this evening, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give here this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Let the record reflect that everyone present at this time has been duly sworn. I think we can proceed now to our first case, which is being brought back from continuance from the last meeting, because we felt that we needed more information. And are the applicants here? I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you. Are you Avery?
No, I'm Louis Cologne. I'm one of the partners. I'm Louis Cologne. I'm one of the partners.
Oh, okay.
Can you
And
spell your name, sir?
Luis, last name Cologne, Colon.
Thanks.
perhaps you should edify us, refresh at our memories.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. This is case number 27-2024-Z-V. The applicant, as listed in the application, is Sean McNally of 135 North George Street, on behalf of the owner of the subject property, which is the Yorkford Group LLP of 1101 Corphiston Road. Just to see that, and I think Chris Christopherson for some reason. Sorry. New Milford, New Jersey, 07646. The subject property is located at 228 and 230 East Philadelphia Street, which address is located in the UN1 Urban Mixed Residential Commercial Zoning District of the City of York. Based on the application, the applicant seeks 2 variances to permit the conversion of a single-family dwelling to a 3-unit multifamily dwelling. First, the applicant seeks a variance from the definition of multifamily dwelling conversion from a different use because the conversion from a single-family dwelling does not fit the definition of multifamily conversion from a different use as is listed in the ordinance. Next, the applicant seeks a variance to reduce the number of required off-street parking spaces from 5 spaces to 2 spaces. The application was reviewed by the planning staff of the City of York. Planning staff recommended denial of both variances. The case, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe the case was never heard by the Planning Commission of the City of York?
That's my understanding, for lack of a quorum.
That's correct.
Okay. The record before the board this evening consists of the application itself, the deed to the subject property, a letter from zoning officer McMillian, an aerial view of the subject property, floor plans of the subject property, and photos of the subject property.
Thank you. I received, as I believe everyone did, the new floor plans for the proposed apartments, and partly because I seem to have misplaced them, I'm going to turn the attention of the board over and the subject matter over to the member who pointed out to us first that we didn't have the floor plans we needed last month. Mr. Holman.
Yes, sir.
Would you?
Sure. Hey, well, first off, we need to identify who you are, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Beth Kern. I'm an attorney with the CGA Law Firm, and I'm here this evening representing the applicant, Yorkford Group.
We did get the updated floor plan. Thank you very much for putting it in feet. It's more easier than meters, like the last one. And the only thing I came up with was the floor plan for the second floor. And I'm kind of jumping into this, and maybe there's something you guys want to talk about first, but I noticed now it has 2 kitchens on there. It looks like it's being, 2 apartments up there on the second floor versus the 3 that is what you're requesting. So now we're up to 4.
We would like to address that if we could. And I'm just going to, if I could, just ask Mr. Colon a few base questions, and then we'll get to that if the board would indulge me on that. Okay. Mr. Colon, could you please state your first and last name and spell it for the court reporter?
Luis Colon, Luis, Colon, Colon.
And how are you affiliated with Yorkford Partners?
I'm one of the partners, owners.
And that is the entity that currently owns this property.
Correct.
When you say you're one of the partners, what is the extent of your participation in this entity?
I deal with the construction aspect, but I am a 50% owner of the property. I mean, all properties that's owned by the company.
But you specialize mostly in the construction aspect.
Yes.
And has this business been in the business of developing and redeveloping properties?
Correct.
How long?
I've been in this business for about 20 years.
Okay. And you and your partner, what is your partner's name, please?
Avery Hoffman.
And he was the gentleman that was here last month with Attorney McDonald, is that correct?
Correct.
Which is why you didn't recognize either of us. We are new this evening to the board. So let's get specifically to the second floor plan to address the question on the floor. There are 2 kitchens shown here, is that correct?
Correct.
Do you intend, after discussing with us, to continue on with presenting this as 2 units on this floor?
Yes, I'm considering taking the 1 kitchen on the back rear end of the house, of the floor.
So you're planning to remove a kitchen
Correct.
and have this be 1 unit that has 2 bedrooms in it?
Correct.
Okay, and so if I could assist the board there, right where there is a hallway that looks like there's stairs, and then there is a bathroom noted directly to the left. There's that kitchen that would be behind that bathroom wall. There, it's currently notated kitchen. That's the kitchen that Mr. Colon is indicating they would be removing from this plan. So in order to have this just be 1 unit, and again, only seeking to have a 3-unit conversion here, not a 4-unit conversion. And we apologize that you didn't get an updated picture of this floor to alleviate that confusion before this evening. And turning back to the floor plan for a moment, the basement that's shown here, is that going to be altered in any significant way from the current?
No.
And how about the first floor?
No.
What about the second floor?
Well, outside of removing the kitchen, that'll be it.
And is it correct that some of these rooms that are notated here as living rooms were previously used as bedrooms?
Correct.
So you're intending not to remove any walls,
Correct.
just repurpose that space?
Correct.
And then on the third floor detailed view, are you changing any walls or doing any significant movement there?
No.
Just adding the kitchen?
Yes.
All right. I'll pause if any of the board members have questions based on the last hearing that you'd like to direct to the applicant at this point in time before I continue on.
So the application we're considering now is for conversion to 3.
Correct.
clarify something. The floor plans, the newest floor plans that say kitchen on the second floor that's gonna be removed, there's not really a kitchen there, is there? Because on the original floor plans, there was never a kitchen there.
Correct.
That we saw, so that's just a correction to your floor plan from the architect.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
In terms of assisting the board, can you share with them how many kitchens are currently in the dwelling?
Well, there isn't any kitchen now, but as far as the plumbing, it's for the 4.
Well, but did you remove anything?
No.
So there was no active kitchen in,
Yes, there was an active kitchen in the first floor, and it had one in the second floor.
okay. And so you're just really proposing then to now add a third kitchen to that third floor?
Correct.
Unless there are other questions from the board, I have just a few more questions for the applicant to get on the record, if that would be all right. Okay. And approximately when did your business purchase this property?
I think it was last November.
So you've owned it for about a year, is that correct? And has there been any substantial renovation or work done on the property since then?
Just minor, we did do the bathrooms, just painting and nothing as far as major construction. Painting, there was some drywall, stuff of that nature.
And so the dwelling has been in a vacant condition?
Correct.
And turning now just a little bit back, you said you've been in construction for about 20 years. How are you affiliated with York?
Well, I'm one of the acting members, owners of the company. We're right now purchasing properties in the York area, and
Where do you reside?
I reside in New York. I'm a resident in New York now for the past 10 years.
So you're a member of the community here?
Correct.
And are you and your partner intending just to do this development or conversion and then sell this property?
No, all the properties we have, we keep them and rent them.
So you're looking to be the landlord and
Correct.
the owner of the property?
Correct.
And you have ties here locally to York?
Correct.
And from your perspective, is there more housing units that are needed within the city of York?
I assume so. And a lot of the properties that I'm looking to purchase are big properties with more than 2,000 square feet. So we can turn them into multi-units, because I see a lot of these properties that we have now, they're run down, they're big, and, too much for the community, as far as the rent. So I think that turning them into multi-units is better, more access for community to have rental abilities.
And this particular property, it has 2 addresses, 228 and 230. Is it your understanding that at some point in time this was considered a double lot?
Yes.
But it is really just one parcel, one property?
I think it is a double lot. I think.
Well, it has one tax ID number, is
Okay.
that correct?
I think so.
So, and the house has been used as a single-family dwelling?
Yes.
Okay. But potentially it was a multifamily dwelling in the
was.
past?
Yes.
All right.
On the listing, it stated that it was a multi-unit and turned into a single unit, but they could be turned again into a multi-unit.
And the existence of the ability of the wiring and the plumbing for that second kitchen, that would tend to prove that was the case?
Correct.
Let's talk about the neighborhood for a moment. Are there other homes nearby? When you go to the property, what are you seeing?
Well, two houses down it's a 6-unit property. There's a few multi-unit properties in that lot.
Okay. And so there's mostly other residential dwellings around the property?
Yes.
So you wouldn't be changing the character of the neighborhood by doing this conversion?
No.
And let's just talk about the parking briefly, since that is a variance here this evening that you're requesting. Is there currently an area for off-street parking on the property?
Yes, in the rear.
And is there an alley or some other access road to get there?
Yes, there's on both sides.
And how many cars do you believe can be parked in the current parking area there?
About 5.
You believe 5 could be parked there?
Correct.
But you're seeking a variance to reduce that 5 to 2. Is that because to increase to 5, you'd have to increase the impervious coverage of the area where the parking could take place?
Correct.
And that's why you're seeking the 2?
Correct.
Given that you're going from a single-family unit to a multifamily unit and you're looking for 3, do you believe this is going to increase the traffic in the area?
I don't think so.
Is there any parking lots nearby the property?
Yes, at the back, it's a church in the back that has open parking.
So would it be fair to say that there's traffic coming already to utilize those lots for the church?
Yes.
So that's probably a little bit more intense of traffic than maybe 2 additional cars that could be coming for your additional units.
Correct.
Right. At this point in time, I'll, again, I've concluded my questioning of the applicant. The board has any additional questions regarding the request or the application, we'd be happy to field those at this time.
So as I understand your last argument about the parking, and Mr. Huffman, who was here last month, he I think, I think he kind of indicated that the parking variance might not be pursued because you have realized, as I did an hour or 2 before the last month's meeting, that there's a good bit of space in back.
Correct.
And much of it is, I mean, it's not a beautiful formal backyard or garden. It's really kind of a weed patch, not the growing up wild kind, nothing higher than 3 or 4 inches. And greenery is nice, but if parking is required, it sounds to me as though you're kind of stuck between 2 demands the ordinance is making on you. One, limiting impervious surface, and the other one requiring parking. Would that not be an accurate analysis?
Yes, that's accurate. And this evening, we are still seeking the parking variance since it is before you and out of abundance of caution, so that if the board were to approve the variance for the multifamily conversion, the owner isn't then having a complication later if there is a determination that they would be impeding on that impervious coverage by utilizing some of that other space, which, as you've aptly put, is sort of a weed patch. There is some gravel intermixed in there, and likely has historically been used for perhaps some unofficial parking. So we just want to make sure that the board here understands that we're trying to do everything by the code and by the ordinance, and we would rather, out of abundance of caution, seek the parking variance and have that be considered.
Okay.
I had a couple questions. First off, sir, how many properties does your company own here in York?
Yorkford, we own 3.
You own 3, okay? And, now I'm gonna forget my second question. That's what happens when you turn 65 a couple months ago.
Just,
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
just wait,
Meters,
just wait.
Are utilities separated into 3 units?
Not now, but I will submit
Part
proper,
of the plan?
proper,
How many meters are there currently?
1 meter.
Okay.
So it will be 3?
It will be 3, yes. 1 for, common areas and 3 for each unit.
Oh, okay.
Will the basement be treated as a common area, or is that an area that, as the owners, you intend to keep exclusive for the owners?
Correct, yes,
So exclusive for the owners?
yes.
My understanding is that at one point, I don't know how many years ago, this was not a single-family home. It was some sort of group home, operated I don't know by whom. Have you encountered any information about that?
I have spoken to someone about that, but I already was in the process of doing this, so I wanted to see this go through first. If
Hearsay.
yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
want to just.
I did remember what I was gonna say.
Good.
And this is not a comment about, this is a comment about your application. I tried for a good 30 minutes going through your pictures, because I like trying to piece the place together. And it appears that first floor is completely missing pictures as far as I can tell. I could put things together based on the floor plans. My comment back to you is, since you're in the business of doing this, if you have another next application, please try to give us a picture show of photos kind of through the place, you know, open the front door, take a picture, and just kind of walk around and take pictures all the way to the 3rd floor, or whatever it is. 'Cause I can figure out some of it, and I like looking at what's going on and where you're.
I
I can see
apologize.
some of the construction going on, I can see some of the pictures of a new tub. I can figure out most of the 2nd floor, I even saw the 3rd floor, but I didn't see anything for 1st floor that I could figure out where it was or what it looks like.
I apologize. That
Yeah.
was actually me.
Okay.
And I remember now about the new revised 3 floor plans. And that was that I had to go looking for my magnifying glass to read them, because on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, who decided that a roughly 2 by 5 inch floor plan, I mean, there's room for football fields around it. Why the little tiny floor plan in the middle of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper? Now, I had to say that at the risk of sounding like somebody who was never going to be satisfied, which is not the case. But I looked at that and I thought, I'm supposed to read that? And on a full-size sheet of paper.
I apologize.
Thank you.
Good. Good.
Everyone good? Okay. Okay, what we usually do, although I've allowed the lines to be blurred a little bit between questions and answers and deliberation, but we didn't ask if anyone in the audience wishes to offer any comments or has any questions for the applicants. I doubted that there was, but I wanted to be sure. And Adam, you usually remind me of that. Well, then, we can, I think we can close and I feel like we've lost something, and it might only be 2 minutes or 3 minutes, but I always feel like when somebody disagrees with me, it's polishing my thinking. does anybody, does anybody want to offer a comment about this project before we entertain motions?
I got nothing else to say, so.
Well, I believe I commented last month that I hope that these applicants were contractors or construction workers, because I would love to have seen this house 80 or 90 years ago when it was only 10 or 15 or 20 years old. I bet it was awesome. And I have a feeling that these are people who will try to put it back close to what it once was. And I voiced I had the theory once that there are times when the best thing we can do to help when good people have a good plan is to not get in their way. Would someone like to offer a motion?
Sure, I'll do it. My glasses on so I can read. I move that in case number 27-2024-Z-B, at the property located at 22/8 and 230 East Philadelphia Street, move to approve variance of definition of multifamily conversion, a different use as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002A at the address identified in the UN1 zoning district.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Holman and seconded by Ms. Jenkins to approve the variance to the definition of multifamily conversion. Calling for the vote, Mr. Carden?
Before I vote, I would like to just say I was not here at the last month meeting, but I do feel like I have heard enough to be able to vote.
Any objection to that?
No objection.
Okay. Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Nugent?
Aye.
Nugent, Carden, aye. Nugent, aye. Mr. Holman?
Aye.
Holman, aye. Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Jenkins, aye. And Williams, aye. You want to?
I'll have a question that really doesn't talk about numbers of spaces. You were looking for a variance on the required off-street parking spaces is found. Requirements are 5, 1.5 times 3 units. And you're looking at just holding 2. Do you want me to say something about being in 2 spaces? Rather than saying, because what I can basically say is not say exactly that the variance requires, blah, blah, blah. We can just say, we're approving it for 2 spaces, vice 5, if that's what you'd like to say.
That's what we're seeking for a minimum of 2 spaces.
Okay. Is that okay?
I'm fine with that, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I move to approve a variance that would allow 2 spaces versus the required 5 off-street parking spaces found in section 1304.01-1.02.002 for the property at 228 and 230 East Philadelphia Street in the UN1 zoning district.
A second.
It's been moved by Mr. Holman and seconded by Ms. Jenkins to approve the variance to the parking requirement to require a minimum of 2 parking spaces. Did I get that close enough?
You did.
Yes, okay. Calling for the vote. Mr. Carden?
Aye.
Carden, aye. Mr. Nugent?
Aye.
Nugent, aye. Mr. Holman?
Aye.
Holman, aye. Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Jenkins, aye. And Williams, aye.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. Good night.
I look forward to that. That's like 1 block away from where I live.
Is it?
Literally, I walk through the parking lot right behind the church all the time.
Oh, that close.
I live right on Market Street.
Okay.
This is 228, and I live at 266 East Market. So it's like
Yeah.
literally right there.
Okay.
And there's a building right next to it. Last year, 2 years ago.
I was wondering if it was
Ready? Okay. The next case is number 29-2024-Z-V/SE. The applicant and owner of the property as listed in the application is Gavin Toomey of 670 Leaf Street, York, Pennsylvania. The subject property is located at 883 Madison Avenue in the city of York. The subject property is located in the RS2 Single Family Attached Residential Conservation District of the city of York. Applicant seeks 3 variances and a special exception to permit a multifamily dwelling conversion from a different use. First, the applicant seeks a definitional variance to permit a multifamily dwelling conversion from a different use from a single-family residence. The applicant also seeks a variance to permit up to 2 dwelling units, which number of dwelling units exceeds the maximum allowable density. Next, the applicant seeks a variance to permit a multifamily conversion in a property which has not been vacant for at least 2 years as required by the City of York zoning ordinance. And finally, the applicant seeks a special exception to permit a multifamily dwelling conversion from a different use, a use permitted by special exception in the RS2 zoning district. The application was reviewed by the planning staff of the City of York. Planning staff recommends denial of the requested variances related to definition of multifamily dwelling conversion from a different use. The planning staff recommends approval of the requested variance related to density and vacancy. The planning staff recommends approval of the special exception conditioned on the zoning board's grant of all requested variances. The case was heard by the City of York Planning Commission on October 14th, 2024. By way of unanimous vote, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the requested variances and the requested special exception. The record before the board this evening consists of the application itself, a July 29th, 2024 letter from Zoning Officer McMillian, the deed to the subject property, 3 pages of floor plans, an aerial view of the subject property, and 6 pages of photos of the subject property.
Thank you. Which is which?
My name is Gavin Toomey.
I'm Grant Bortner.
Right. Hence the name of your LLC, I guess, 2Gs or G2 or whatever.
Yes, sir. You got it right.
Yeah. Who wrote the answers to the narrative questions?
I did.
You did?
Gavin, yep.
Yeah. Did you ever work for Hallmark Cards? You're a very good writer. You're a
Yes,
very
I
good writer. I don't think I ever before heard an apartment being described as healthy, which I think you did at one point. Anyway, tell us what you'd like to do with this property.
Yes, sir. Start off here by saying, like you said, Mr. Williams, Grant and I, we've been friends for over a decade. We formed our business January 2nd, 2023. We own 15 properties across York County, 10 of which are located here in York City. Of those 10 in York City, 2 of those buildings are condemned, and we're going through the legal process right now with permitting to bring these buildings back to life. We enjoy York City. We love being in York City. We love buying properties in York City. To attest to that a little bit, it was April 13th of 2024 that we organized a spring trash cleanup. We own a bunch of properties within a 0.6 mile radius, and we brought our wives out and our families, and we picked up 14 or 16 trash bags, 5-gallon trash bags, contractor bags. And we've also ran a fundraising event at my personal home where we had over 140 people, and we raised $7,500. We gave half of that to Give Local York, and then the other half was to a foundation of a good buddy of mine who passed away from an overdose. So just wanted to throw that out there, a little bit about what we have done for York City so far and what we look to strive for to continue to do every single year moving forward with the trash cleanup and the fundraising event. So what we're looking to do here tonight is get approval from you all to change our single-family home, 883 Madison Avenue, into a legal 2-unit. We understand that there was some history here with this building that was not done the legal route, which is why we chose to come here tonight. This is our second time going through this process. The first one was our first ever purchase that we made together back in January of 2023, 219 Roosevelt Avenue. See some familiar faces here, so it's good to see you guys all. Yeah, that's just a little bit about Grant. We'll be able to talk a little bit more about the property, and I'll leave that up to him now.
Great. Any questions at this point? So the building is currently built like a 2-unit. We purchased it already built like a 2-unit. The previous owner lived upstairs. I believe he purchased it in this condition, and whether or not he rented the downstairs, I'm not sure, but there's always been 2 kitchens as far as I'm aware, 2 bathrooms, and et cetera, plenty of bedrooms for each apartment. You see on the floor plan here, the first floor is that first apartment, and that is well within the 1-bedroom requirement for an apartment in York City. And this second 2 pages is the entire second apartment, the second and third floor. The rear section of the first floor there, you'll notice, is just a common area, and we plan to furnish that with laundry units and all the utilities there for separate laundry for each of the tenants to access.
I'm going to hand out real quick, guys, some pictures of the parking. I know that's part of the variance here tonight, so I apologize. This was not done during the application. This was handled afterwards. There was a shed here. You'll see in the pictures that we laid down stone. We did not have to go into the yard, so just want to share that here with you.
So we expanded the parking from 2 spots to 3 technically. We've tested it. We can fit 4 vehicles there, but the requirement, as we know, is only 3. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The apartments, you mentioned 1-bedroom apartment on the first floor. How many bedrooms on the second and third?
The apartment number 2 would be considered a 3-bedroom apartment with a pretty sizable living room included in there, which of course could be used as a bedroom.
Okay. That was one thing I was going to comment on, the pictures of there's nothing that says this is the kitchen, this is the bedroom, this is.
Yeah, that's right, sir.
If I may,
See what it is.
I was taking some mental notes down from your comments of the first case. That one is noted. Is there anything else that I could do better next time? I'm open to criticism and feedback.
Actually, this package I thought was pretty good. Other than, that's the only comment that says what's in each of the rooms.
Down in the bottom right-hand corner or something that just, bedroom 1, 2,
Yeah.
living room.
Yeah, you mentioned
All I was really looking for was how many bedrooms was on the first floor, because if it was anything greater than 1, you're going to be out of one piece. And you need 700 square feet for a 2-bedroom.
Oh,
Right.
yes, sir. That's right.
595, so.
Okay.
And your 3-bedroom is fine with the second and third floor.
Appreciate that.
Something else we ask about a lot, and it's not required, but it's always helpful, is the number of gas meters that are at the property. So photos of them, sometimes we can see multiples in the photos that helps answer, but how many do you have?
I can elaborate on the utilities. So right now there's 1 gas meter and we plan to keep 1 gas meter. This will only service the second floor water heater and the boiler in the basement. We plan to remove, I think already removed the first floor radiators, and we plan to put electric baseboard heat in throughout. And we have a permit in place that is on hold currently waiting for this approval to split the electric into 2 meters.
Sorry, I also have a question. In the letter from Monty, the zoning officer, it says you need to provide a letter of recommendation for the buildings used to be converted from the redevelopment authority.
That's from Mr. Blendon Nace. We did not
Yeah.
receive that letter. We went over this Monday night, and I don't know if Monty might have a comment on that, but
Yeah, Nancy, she emailed it to Blanda, and she said she hasn't received anything back from Blanda. That's why they doesn't have the
Okay, I
RDA.
misunderstood that, Monty. Thank you. So we're waiting. Gotcha.
No problem.
Thank you.
Well, this came up at the Planning Commission, whether or not you had gotten this letter of recommendation from the RDA. And to be totally honest, I didn't attach a lot of importance to it because I think Blanda has a button on his computer that he just pushes and cranks out that letter. And we've gotten that letter of recommendation in some situations where I had very serious misgivings about, it depends. Is the presence of quite a number of apartments an argument for or against adding more apartments? To me, it's always seemed as though it's as much an argument against more apartments than adding more, because I think a strong neighborhood is one where there's a mix of there's going to be some apartments in the city, but a better neighborhood is one where there's a blend, I think, I'm sorry, I'm spieling, but before I moved in from the farm in '97, I researched the neighborhood that I was thinking about moving to, and I liked the blend of businesses, rental apartments, and single-family homeowners. And I mean, I'm not talking about good people and bad people, or better people and lower people, but I'm just saying a good blend. And so I believe the chair of the Planning Commission suggested that you try to get that letter, I believe they said, for your records, just because technically I think it is a requirement of the special exception. Anyway.
Just a question for you guys. Looks like you did a good job of squaring out that stone. What other modifications are you going to make to the property or upgrades? Looks like it's a little bit of a rough condition.
Yeah, I believe those pictures were taken before we started anything. We have already went through the property as far as structurally. We haven't changed a thing. The property has been painted, trim has been installed or replaced where it was completely missing, and doorknobs replaced, etc. Paint job goes a long way, but it certainly looks a lot different.
No,
Really cosmetic.
no, so everything's just you're doing cosmetic work and.
That's right. Repairing fascia, replaced a gutter, make sure everything's flowing correctly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we patched some roof areas to rubber roof,
Rubber roof. Okay. That
preparing it for.
back room looks a little better now on the outside. Looks like that's sort of
That's right.
falling
Yeah,
apart a little
siding
bit.
was repaired.
Yeah,
and
good.
Window has been replaced.
Nice. Okay.
The door has a new bezel on it.
So the blueprints that are in here, first floor, second, third floor, there's no changes to that. That's actually what the walls look like.
That's exactly how we bought it, sir, yeah.
Nice.
Have you made contact with any of the neighbors to just introduce yourselves and tell what you like to do and sort of become neighborly?
Yeah, Robert Myers and I spoke on the phone. He's a real estate agent for Keller Williams. He's been in the real estate industry as far back as 1997, actually 1989. And we spoke on the phone. He owns 2 properties to the right of us if you're looking at 883. And he wished us luck and supported what we were doing with changing it, looking to change it from a single family home to a multifamily 2-unit.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
Oh, he may be watching. He watched Monday night.
Any questions or comments from anyone in the audience? Hearing none, I think we can close the questioning and one thing I look for is whether or not a property was bought at tax sale or for cheap. And they paid a market price for it, unless they've got millionaire relatives, they are serious about protecting their investment, I think, by doing maintenance and screening tenants and things that landlords should do. And I have a basically good feeling about, I spoke at the beginning about we weigh things, and I don't like to see more and more single-family homes divided, but on the other hand, I think that allowing conversions by responsible, well-intended people, I think perhaps is a necessary part of dealing with the homeless situation. Something was said, though, at the Planning Commission, I think, when one of you were speaking and said something about 16,280 residential units needed, and the closed captioning said New York City, but I can't believe that there are 16,000 more residential units needed in York City.
If I said York City, I definitely misspoke. I meant York County. That's coming from the York Economic Alliance. That fact there. I actually have the packet there. We met with Casey Nixon, and also, we were supposed to meet with Sarah O'Brien as well. Unfortunately, she could not make it. But we met with Casey Nixon with Downtown Inc., looking for ways to collaborate together with our business and Downtown Inc. We will be joining her, is that next Wednesday? For lunch at the Rotary Club to meet with some individuals to see how we can help our city and our community. So that's the number, 16,280 housing units short, dates back to 2006, with keeping up with the pace of population. Yeah, so just to elaborate.
Would someone like to offer a motion?
I'll move to approve a variance to the definition of multifamily conversion from a different use as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002A at 883 Madison Avenue in the RS2 zoning district.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Mr. Nugent and seconded by Mr. Carden to approve the variance to the definition of multifamily conversion. Calling for the vote, Mr. Carden.
Aye.
Carden, aye. Mr. Nugent.
Aye.
Nugent, aye. Mr. Holman.
Aye.
Holman, aye. Ms. Jenkins.
Aye.
Jenkins, aye. And Williams, aye.
And I'll move to approve a dimensional variance for multifamily conversion from a different use found in section 1304.01-1.02.002 to include conversion of a single-family home into 2 units for the property at 883 Madison Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Nugent and seconded by Mr. Carden to approve variance to the dimensional requirement for multifamily conversion. Calling for the vote, Mr. Carden.
Aye.
Carden, aye. Mr. Nugent.
Aye.
Nugent, aye. Mr. Holman.
Aye.
Holman, aye. Ms. Jenkins.
Aye.
Jenkins, aye. And Williams, aye.
And I'll move to approve a variance to waive the special exception provision that the property must have been vacant for 2 years found in section 1311.11C1 for the property located at 833 Madison Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Nugent and seconded by Mr. Carden to approve a variance waiving the special exception provision of 2 years vacant Calling for the vote, Mr. Carden.
Aye.
Carden, aye. Mr. Nugent.
Aye.
Nugent, aye. Mr. Holman.
Aye.
Holman, aye. Ms. Jenkins.
Aye.
Jenkins, aye. And Williams, aye.
And I'll move to approve a special exception to allow multifamily use as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002 at 883 Madison Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Nugent and seconded by Mr. Carden to approve the special exception to allow multifamily use. Calling for the vote, Mr. Carden.
Aye.
Carden, aye. Mr. Nugent.
Aye.
Nugent, aye. Mr. Holman.
Aye.
Holman, aye. Ms. Jenkins. Jenkins, aye. And Williams, aye. Good luck to you, fellas.
Appreciate you.
And if you haven't painted the front porch yet, if you do before winter comes, I think the neighbors will probably love you.
I think it was done today.
All right. All right.
Thank you guys for your time. We appreciate everything that you guys do. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The final case this evening is case number 30-2024-Z-V/SE. The applicant and owner of the property is Michael Miller of 4637 Farringer Drive, York, Pennsylvania. The subject property is located at 261 Roosevelt Avenue in the city of York, which is in the UN2 Urban Residential Neighborhood zoning district of the city of York. Applicant seeks two variances to permit the conversion of an existing 3-unit dwelling to a 4-unit dwelling. First, the applicant seeks a variance to permit up to 4 dwelling units, which number of dwelling units exceeds the maximum allowable density. And next, the applicant seeks a variance to reduce the required number of off-street parking spaces. The application was reviewed by the planning staff of the city of York. Planning staff recommends approval of those requested variances. The case was heard by the City of York Planning Commission on October 14, 2024, and by way of unanimous vote, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the requested variances. The record before this evening consists of the application itself, an August 27, 2024 letter from Monty to deed to the subject property, 4 pages of floor plans, an aerial view of the subject property, and 41 pages of photos of the subject property. 41 pages of the subject, photos of the subject property, a receipt from the UPS store, and a receipt from the City of York.
Thank you. Before we proceed with this case at all, I would like to state that I am not going to be able to approve anything requested because of the condition of the application. I think that's the best way I could put it. The drawings are a little bit rough, but I've always said that I don't feel that individual applicants ought to be required to appear with an attorney with professionally drawn plans because they perhaps just cannot afford all of those costs in addition to the filing fee. So I mean, the drawings could stand to be a little bit clearer, but I probably could, I'd be willing to address a couple of specific questions. But the bundle of photographs 5 or 6 of them were like a quarter of the page. I had no idea what the photograph was supposed to be. Another 5 or so were photographs of work in progress. One of them I titled "The Happy Worker" because a very smiling young fellow holding a paint bucket. None of them identified as to what I'm seeing. Now, I know a bathroom when I see it. I know a kitchen area when I see it, but first floor or second floor or third apartment or fourth apartment, and I want, if there are more than 3, pick a number, 3, more than 3, more than 4, more than 5 photographs filed with the application. Each photo should be numbered quite visibly, and there should be a separate sheet attached describing briefly but clearly what the photograph pictures. I don't think that is asking too much. And I am not going to vote to approve anything because I want it to start with this. And I think, Mr. Miller, one of the pages in with the photographs was a copy of the receipt. It appeared as though you paid the UPS store $382.
Yes, sir. They actually made these packets that look like a third grader. I apologize.
And I mean, you ought to try Staples or someplace else because I mean that just seems exorbitant.
Yes, sir.
And you're trying to interrupt with what?
No, I was just gonna, well, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
I've got nothing.
I would like, I want to move, is this what they call sua sponte? When
Yes.
I'm on my own
Yes.
initiative? See,
Yes.
I paid attention in court.
Very good.
I want to move that we not even take up a matter unless the procedural rule regarding photographs that I outlined is followed. And I would like a member to please either move approval or agreement of that or oppose it, and we will take a vote, and I will either be sustained or not. I would not want the power to dictate this by myself. But we work hard, and I don't think we should have to work harder than a lot of the things that we have to decide are not easy. We shouldn't have to fight and beg for materials that we can understand what we're seeing. And I don't think it's asking for too much. So I would like a sense of the board, whether that seems like a reasonable requirement. I mean, they can't fire us. I don't think.
What are we discussing here? This case or
This case.
This case?
And going forward. Because
Okay.
I don't.
'Cause I've seen worse packets than this one.
I'm sorry?
I've seen worse packets than this one.
Could I also say something? I showed everything in these packets to Miss Griffin, including the drawings, and she said that everything was completely acceptable. If she would have said anything was not acceptable in this packet, I would have changed it before I came in front of you. And if you have any questions, I can gladly answer about any picture in this packet. So,
I think,
It does seem a little bit unfair to swoop down.
oh, I completely agree with you as well. I was looking through this and I can see what you're saying. So if you'd like me to explain anything, I can.
I think a couple of things. First of all, if the board is of the opinion that this application itself is lacking to the point that they don't feel that they can make an appropriate decision, what would be my recommendation is that we would simply table this and allow the applicant to make any adjustments and come back next month. That would be sort of number one. Number two, I think that, directing the zoning office to, set that standard moving forward would also be fine. But I don't think that it certainly shouldn't weigh on either approval or more relevantly disapproval of this case. I would not recommend any sort of disapproval. I would rather see that the board, if they feel it's necessary, table it just until next month, which I think is probably what you were saying, Mr. Williams.
Yeah.
If you don't think the packet has enough, I'm okay with that. I just don't want to send this gentleman off, and deny him without hearing him. It doesn't seem too offensive to me.
No, I wouldn't want to do that either. But I don't want to wait months or years to make a change, to see some improvement. At my age, I don't even buy green bananas.
Well, I would like to say a couple things.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I kind of agree that the package is lacking some things, but it's also, as one of our other members has said, we've had worse packages. I have problems with the package in that some of the things I just don't understand. In the first one, the variance appeal that's coming from the zoning office, it says the applicant seeks a dimensional variance since the proposed density is less than permitted by the zoning ordinance in this district. Staff has reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10D and finds the property is not big enough for the proposed 4 units. Therefore, the staff recommends approval of the dimensional variance to allow 4 apartments. I'm not sure why they're approving something that isn't approvable. And the second part of it is looking at the dimensions of apartment B in the pictures. There's not enough space for either a 1 or 2 bedroom. It's got 2 bedrooms in the drawings for that size apartment. It won't approve. I won't approve it. Okay? I mean, right now I did square footage and it's 496 square feet in that place. And you have down 2 bedrooms. One of the bedrooms is 7 feet by 8 feet.
The one is actually a living room. It's not
Well, now there's a living room, there's a bedroom, and there's a bedroom, according to your pictures. So I see a living room, bedroom, and I'm just feeling like this package is not there.
And I'm not trying to interrupt.
Okay,
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying.
Well, I think what I'm hearing is some concern on the part of the board, not only on behalf of the applicant, but also perhaps some questions for the zoning office that perhaps tabling this and directing that the applicant go back and work with the zoning office to clean up any issues might be the best way, rather than trying to muddle through all of this tonight. Might be the best way to handle it.
Well, I would just like for the record to show that, in my opinion, apartment B is just too small. You're trying to take a place that's been approved for 3 and make it into 4, and your apartment B is just too small.
And I think that's also a very relevant question that should be addressed with the
zoning.
The zoning, and if, go ahead.
B is actually a big apartment with a full-size kitchen, full-size bath. It has the little breezeway and everything right there. But it's set up as like a studio in the front too. So when I wrote bedroom by the 7x8, that's actually like another portion that sticks out farther. It's actually one big bedroom, but it's actually like a studio like entrance with a breezeway right next to it.
So there's no wall there?
Come again, sir?
There's no wall between the 7?
No, there's no wall.
That's not a wall.
No.
But regardless, if we're,
It's still, I'm adding that all together, and I'm still only coming up with 496 square feet, and that's still not even enough for one bedroom. So I'm just,
It's the whole first floor of a building, sir.
but it's your dimensions that I'm using, and I'm not a dummy when it comes to adding,
Yes, sir.
subtracting things.
I think really, again, I think that we should send some direction back to the zoning office to work with the applicant here and figure out, make sure that the applicant has applied for the right variances. And if there needs to be other variances, regarding size, it would be my recommendation that, well, I'm not gonna tell the zoning office what to do, but it would be my recommendation that perhaps we ensure appropriate advertisement to confirm any necessary variances, and again, I don't know that I would, I think that we should probably consider doing that all in the application fee itself, not charging the applicant any more.
makes sense?
Correct.
Yeah.
Monty, does that make sense?
I'm on board with that 100%.
Okay.
And I think where we're at is the overall frustration of the packets that we have been receiving. And I understand that we want more clarification in these packets that we can use. But we also have to be careful that we don't want to use him as an example. Yes, we're recognizing it here and we want it to stop how it's been, start fresh and new, but not using him as an example to do this. But given the opportune time to come back, I would say to you that if you could take the drawings that you have and clean them up, and what we would like for you to do is, just as if you walk in the door of your apartment, you are going to be our eyes. So let us know, this room is this next room is this. That is how we need the pictures to line up, and that's also how we need your drawings to line up. Because we can't see it, but that's what we use your pictures and your drawings for, is to give us an idea of what we're looking at.
I understand that. Yes, ma'am.
And
But
then
to me, I could walk through this and show you everything about it. You know what I mean? But I understand what you're saying from your point of view.
Right, and
Yes.
if you would like, because what my co-chair here was saying to you as far as the numbers, maybe relook at your measurements, that, to make sure they're accurate for us as well.
Okay.
Okay, and then that way we're not questioning, although you want to explain to us, we're not questioning what you're telling us.
I got you.
Okay?
Yes.
Plus, I would throw another thing, apartment D, I'm looking at that one also, and I came up with 433 square feet minus I'm not sure bathrooms are always included in the dimensions of what's considered habitable spaces, and that's something to bring up with the zoning. But it's still, even at 430 square feet, and I'm using your dimensions to measure the whole thing and get and you can't include stairs and stuff like that. That is not even big enough for an efficiency. Okay, so I'm not sure, and the other part of this whole story is we don't know what's there now. You're trying to make 3 into 4, and your description doesn't have any idea of what.
So on the first floor, there's 2 apartments. There's one that takes up the entire first floor. At some point in history, they must have added an addition or in a back. So there's 2 apartments on the first floor. There's one apartment on the second floor, and there's one apartment on the third floor. That isn't an entire floor. They both are.
And you're taking the second floor and making it into two.
No, it was already existing. It's been existed. And the real rough ones where he said about the guy smiling and stuff. So I bought this property in 2021 from the owners that had it since the 80s, Michael and Marie Rudy. Basically, they just never did anything with it. It's always been there. It's always been existing. It's under its own gas, under its own electric, under its own water. I simply remodeled it over the last 3 years, put a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort into it, which you can see in almost the brand new construction, which the pictures here are rough because I was working on it, but it is already completed. I'm basically here for a parking variance. Basically, I own 259 next door as well. I have a 3-car garage there. This has nothing to do with the packet. But I'm applying for the variance because I have 3-car garages there and an off-street parking area there. So, and mine is located right next to the corner lot, which is also located next to Park Street. So there's plenty of off-street parking there. So that's basically a little rundown of it. So the whole top floor has been a unit. I simply just remodeled it. That's it. Has its own entrance, has its own exit, has its own everything. And it's been there. It's not something that I created. I didn't divide a house. I didn't make this up. I remodeled it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Probably.
Always been there.
Probably feels like we're tearing you up pretty good here.
It does. I kind of feel like a 3-year-old over here. I was already nervous to come in here.
No, but
and now I'm like, oh God, this is terrible. But you can see the old cloth tub. Basically everything in here was just, the old owners just never put any money into it. It had a nasty roof leak. Over the last 3 years, I fixed it all. If you go down Roosevelt, I know you guys are from the city and everything like that, but I like to say that mine are the best looking on Roosevelt. I resided the front of the buildings. I wrapped all the windows. Basically, I did a new front porch. I take pride in my properties, and I put a lot of time and a lot of money into it. So.
That's where I was.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's where I was going with that. But judging by the pictures, it looks like you're doing a great job with them.
Yes, and like I said, from the pictures now, it's already completed and it's beautiful.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So if we bring you back and it's completed, could you maybe take some pictures?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same as this picture, just with nothing on the floor and stove in.
But if you could
yeah.
take like a picture and label it.
Okay.
No, okay, this is like how he was having, the question of the 2 bedrooms and stuff.
And in my defense as well, if Nancy would have told, I'm in construction, I work with my hands, I pound nails for a living, literally, I don't do this. If she would have told me that, or I would have had any reference to that, or read that anywhere, I would have definitely did that for you. So that's no problem.
Mr. Miller, we don't need you to spend another $382. We don't need 30 photos.
Between the packet and the application, that was $1,000 plus all this other stuff, and I already have $20,000 in the apartment.
Now, actually, if you have, with your phone or however you're going to do your pictures, if you just go through just to show us, go to Walgreens. The pictures are only like 40 cents, and that's all we need.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And to be clear, I think what I'm hearing the board say, I don't want to talk for the board. None of what the concerns of the board here tonight are in any way going to be held against you when you come back and present next month. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like you're doing a great job with the place, so
Thank you.
appreciate that. Yeah.
We just would like to be able to be with you and know exactly what you're seeing so we can see it.
And
Yes, ma'am.
also, and I'm not going to tell you how to do anything, but you could even really use the pictures that you currently have and label those, correct?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So don't feel that you need to go out and do new pictures or anything like that. I think it's mostly just explaining what's there.
Or
Now you could take
Gotcha.
the packet, if you could just, like, next to the picture, write, this is, first floor, front bedroom. You could write it right on the paper beside it.
You can.
Gotcha.
I'm flexible on that. It doesn't, I would be satisfied with a label, like Sina said, on a blank, a bare area in the photograph, just so it's legible, in
Yes, sir.
lieu of a separate listing.
But also to Mr. Hallman's point, just coordinate with the zoning office as well to make sure that we've got everything covered. That, I think, frankly, is really the thing that needs to be.
That is my biggest concern is the package does not show, your package requires that you show us what the fourth unit is. I'm not sure what it is, okay? The applicant would like to convert a 3-unit dwelling into a 4-unit multi-family dwelling. I don't know what the fourth unit is, because there's 4 different things here, but I don't know what was and what will be or what is now.
It's also a problem from bringing the past to the future. Like I said, this was already here. This was already made. When we rezone this, there's obviously been new laws that are the zoning laws. This place was created before that. You know what I mean? And now the rest of mine are licensed and inspected by the city. And that's basically where I'm at now with this. And that's all I'm looking forward to, is being recognized by the city as a legit unit. So it's not like I created this or am just making this or dividing a house or anything. Everything was already there and existing. So it's hard to tell with the packet.
Yeah.
So.
Need that
Yes.
Yeah, and sorry we're
No.
coming so hard on the
It's all
packet, but
good.
your work looks
all
great
good.
for what you did. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Put a lot of time and money in, so.
Yeah, it looks good.
I'd be
So I would just
happy.
make a motion to table.
I'd be happy to approve this next month. Defeating you was the farthest thing from my intention. I think everyone understands that. I move with the applicant's consent to continue this table.
Table, continue, either one.
Either one, to continue the case until next month.
I second.
Calling for the vote, Mr. Carden.
Aye.
Carden votes aye. Mr. Nugent.
Aye.
Nugent, aye. Mr. Holman, aye. Ms. Jenkins.
Aye.
Aye, and Williams, aye. So,
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
See you next month.
I'll see you next month.
Okay.
good.
Thank you.
You're
Going
welcome.
to the place.
Michael?
Just a motion to adjourn.
Oh, my love.
Adjourn.
I would motion to adjourn. Unless
Hold on a second before we adjourn.
something needs to be on the
Can you just hold on for a second? We need Monty. We need Monty.
Are
But
we
we're still on the
adjourned?
record. Not adjourned yet.
Not adjourned yet.
No. Monty, could you come forward, please? While we're still on the record, I want to put it out there for the board that we need, whether you have to go to Nancy or whatever you need to do, we need these packets to be what they're supposed to be for us.
I understand.
We can't keep questioning these people and having them come back. And I felt sorry for him that he felt we were tearing him down. And I understand what he was feeling in that, because we did kind of come at him. And it's not fair, because if he was told the things properly, we wouldn't have had to do that. So if you want to speak with Nancy, so you both are on the same page, that we can get these packets, that they are thorough, and then that way we can all be on the same page. Okay?
And
Is everybody in agreement
before we
with that?
close, I agree 100%. And the other thing is, I'll bring it up again. I don't know why the zoning office is approving something, saying they recommend approval, when it clearly says in the ordinance that it's not big enough for 4 units, period. So I mean, I don't understand why they're saying that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I will keep an eye out. You know, this may be, first of all, I'll keep an eye out for some things that they do on zoning that might be worthwhile for all of us to watch, and we can do it together if we want.
Well, I have done a couple of the zoning
Yeah.
things that they sent out.
Okay, good.
Just so I can get better understanding.
Yeah.
And that's what, the one thing is that you have all the proper
Yeah.
things in front of you.
Yeah.
Before you make decisions. That was the one that I did watch.
Yeah.
And I understand that getting some people to follow requirements is like herding cats. I understand that. It's not an easy job. But as Mr. Holman pointed out, your main job is to make sure that, or to let us know what the ordinance says. And our job is to decide whether there's something about a specific case that deserves an exception. So if you recommend one thing and we decide something else, we maybe are just both doing our jobs. It's not personal. If your job is to go by the book and tell us what the book says, and then our job is to, in my opinion, our job is to decide, does this case warrant being made an exception? Or doesn't it?
I mean, even
I
if there
think-
was an explanation, it says that why somebody is saying approve this, there's nothing. It just says they recommend approval, and I'm like, why? If it doesn't mean, yeah, what's the support? Like, so.
I have an answer to that question. So when you said something to me, and like I said, I've been saying something, and she said, going forward, I will be doing the staff review since I'm the zoning officer. If I want to recommend a now approval on everything, which I should be recommending them now on anything that doesn't meet the code, she said, by all means, I can do so. She was just following the analogy of her predecessors. So I guess that's the explanation.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that. I mean, I could see her approving it if she gave us a reasoning why she's approving it. I mean, and I think we're still on the record, so I won't get
Yeah.
joking or
Too
anything.
Anything else?
No, you can adjourn us, so we're.
Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Appreciate your money.